and small and mid-sized businesses really struggling with the price of fuel.
We're really getting hit hard.
We've cut down on everything. It might be the best way to start.
Lack of some sort of overarching policy is really holding us back.
We're getting officers out of the cars on bicycles.
Food is just getting crazy.
We have got to the point where we don't even fill up our tanks anymore because we can't afford to fill the tanks up.
When are we going to change something? When are we going to do something besides talk about it?
I'm Congressman Steve Womack of Arkansas. You know, there are a lot of opinions on this subject, and every day here in Washington, we're doing our best to offer American solutions to America's energy challenges. When I go home and talk with constituents, the sobering effects of higher energy prices are clear, and the absence of a good, sound energy policy by this administration becomes very evident. So much of what we do or fail to do here in Washington has an enormous impact on individuals, on families and business. That's why the stories in this video are so relevant.
Ranger we've been here for over 40 years, and we recently purchased Stratus and Triton brands. So we build 3 brands of product here, boats and trailers. The feedstocks that come off the crude is what we're using, to make our resins and different formulations that we use, gel coats and so forth. So that's really affected us. Just for a point of reference, if we go back like to '93, where the index, petrochemical index, down about below 100 actually. Today it's about 354 at the end of May. So that shows you what an increase we've seen. It's unbelievable. On delivery, we're paying, I don't know, last I looked, 58 cents a mile fuel surcharge. And we haul these boats from coast to coast all over the country. And then the last thing, probably more important one, is the consumer side. $4 gas, maybe you can swallow that, but the threat of $7 gas is, you perhaps think twice about buying a $50,000 boat before you do that.
Right.
So, that's kind of where we're at. I think on all fronts, we're really getting hit hard. We're going to have to get a policy, an energy policy here that makes sense, and we can't be, subsidizing with this ethanol deal. To me, it's a joke. We're burning up what we should be eating. We farm on the side, raise cattle, and it's unbelievable what corn costs.
These are our sauces and meats. The food is just getting crazy. I mean, you can't just serve cheese pizzas. I don't think anybody would like that too much. As far as customers, we have to raise prices on them for that too, and that never makes customers happy. We've had issues with that before. The deliveries, in fact, too, we've had to cut down our delivery range because some of the places are too far. Like I said, for that $2 delivery fee, it's not cutting it. So, and we've had lots of issues with that. People are not happy with that. We've had to cut it down, a good, I think, mile radius. It's not our fault. It's something we can't prevent, but we have to do. Yeah, the bell peppers that went up $7 from probably a week. We usually order those things maybe once a week. Last week they were probably like $5 a pound. This week they were $12. I really hope we can figure some way out of getting these energy prices lower to where local businesses can strive and grow.
The overall economy is really holding us back, and one of the big factors of that is energy cost. We saw in February, before the gas price spike, there was actually some growth occurring, at least in construction, in remodeling. There was some growth happening. As soon as gas prices shot up, it went away, and it has not been back. It's hurting the demand side, and it is also hurting the supply side in terms of the cost. Cost of fuel for an organization that's delivering their own product like we are, a significant cost. For manufacturers specifically, the energy costs are very large. Eventually it will. Eventually, the cost of goods is going to be higher because of higher energy cost. Well, energy independence is the big word. You know, we all want to be independent. We want America to produce its own energy. We don't want to be beholden to other sources. That's a whole lot easier to say. But the absence of some sort of overarching policy governing the use of nuclear, governing the use of natural gas and wind and some of the burgeoning green power sources is very important. Natural gas is now being used in vehicles, and it's becoming a bigger push here. But infrastructure is missing. You can't drive from California to New York on natural gas. But those kind of things have to be discussed to try and create multiple sources to relieve the demand that we're seeing on oil.
Short term, this year will be okay. Next year, no one knows exactly what's going to happen. One of the things we are doing a little differently this year is we're holding calls that are non-priority when we're not having to pull officers out of their district to go to another district. We're getting officers out of the cars on bicycles. They actually will have a bicycle on the back of their car. We've managed our resources pretty well. Now next year, if fuel goes up to $5 or $6 a gallon, I'm sure that will have a significant impact on us. And we will probably be curtailing the amount of patrol that we do, the number of miles we put on a car per day, per week. There was a lady, she's a clerk at one of the local convenience stores, and she's at the point to where she's told me that she's going to have to quit her job because she can't afford the fuel to come to work where she sells fuel. She doesn't want to quit her job, but she's basically being forced to. We reduce our dependency on foreign fuel. And it seems like it's talked about every day in the news. All the politicians are talking about doing something, but year in and year out, there's not any significant major policy changes. When are we going to change something? When are we going to do something besides talk about it?
The fluctuating price of fuel and the big increases in the per gallon cost of fuel have really put some strains on any predictability about the Highway Trust Fund and what kind of dollars are raised and available for highway construction. We're desperate for some new infrastructure and some highway expansion in northwest Arkansas, a fast growing area of the country. And unfortunately, we're seeing declines in gas tax revenues because fuel taxes are so high, people are buying less gas, driving less, and it's hindering our ability to plan for the future as a region. We're seeing small and mid-sized businesses really struggling with the price of fuel. It's added an element of uncertainty to their budgeting. It's putting strains, causing them to cut back elsewhere. With the economy starting to look like it's going to recover, showing some signs of life, if the price of fuel continues to escalate, we're going to be back to where we were.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you? You're on film.
Is corn $3 any good to look at?
No. see how that question permeates everything we do?
Yeah.
38% of the U.S. corn crop now goes to ethanol.
I think there are a lot of things that from a business point of view, they make no sense coming out of Washington, and that's difficult for us to manage through.
We've cut down on everything. It might be the best way to start. The ethanol is a knee-jerk reaction to other factors going on in the world. 2 weeks ago, the July option traded at $8 a bushel. We use about 26 million bushels of corn a year. 26 million times $4 is $104 million real quick. That's the change in our cost. That's just corn.
Fuel affects every portion of our cost.
One of our primary products is the fast food business. Fuel's $4.50 a gallon. people just run out of money to go out and enjoy that kind of atmosphere. So we've seen a decline in sales.
It makes our products more expensive.
As those costs go up, eventually we have to pass them on to the consumer.
U.S. business interests need stability in energy policy, which we've not had.
We have oil reserves in Alaska, Colorado, the Gulf, both coasts. We have oil reserves in the Montana, North Dakota, edge of South Dakota region. Now all our refinery capacity is on the coast. Every time we have a hurricane, the refinery capacity changes. Move the refining capacity, create jobs. Those dollars are going to stay in our country.
Historically, poultry farmers have been fairly stable, but in the last few years it's become very unstable. We'd like to fill these tanks up. We ordered roughly 300 gallons of diesel and 100 gallons of gas the other day, put in our farm tanks, plus some gas that went in our generator tanks for our chicken houses, and we spent $3,000. And that was for just a very brief period of time this year, maybe less than 2 months. So you say, well, for 12 months, how much is that going to be? And it's going to be outrageous. We have got to the point where we don't even fill up our tanks anymore because we can't afford to fill the tanks up. Well, the ethanol issue affects us where the integrator's paying $6, $7, $8 a bushel for corn. His feed costs have just skyrocketed. Because of that, he's not in a position to give us increases in our contracts that we have, in our case, with Simmons Foods, who are located in Solomon Springs. And I understand the pressures that are on Mark Simmons and his company, but the grower has to have an occasional increase in their contracts just to stay even with the prices that he's paying for the fuel and other things that he has to have to be able to produce the poultry for the company. To subsidize corn, which in turn puts other farmers out of business and basically puts less food out available for the public, is not good public policy. We're getting pressure from about every angle you can get pressure from, and it's making farming here hard to reach the break-even point. Our profit's gone now. It's kind of funny to say, farmers are just trying to have enough left over to put food on their table.